The time is 6:30.
No, they're not. He's not up yet.
Who's not up yet?
We're not up yet.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Good evening. The time is 6:31. The date is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. There are no commissioners absent. One Commissioner Buzz Artiano is virtual, and Commissioner Dot McFarland is also virtual. I'll now open the meeting and take a roll call. Kalina Vendetti, that's me, I'm here. Jim Franklin?
Yes.
Dot, you're here?
Yes.
Thanks. Megan Hickey?
Yeah.
Buzz Artiano?
Here.
There you go. Marilyn Casadoy?
Here.
And Brian Payne?
Here.
We're all here, thanks. Please note, we're doing a hybrid meeting. That's with in-person and virtual attendance. So if a member of the virtual public would like to make comments during this public hearing, please use the raised hand function on Zoom, and then you'll be assigned to speak in time. And if you're listening in via telephone dial-in, press *9. That will raise your hand, and then press *6 to unmute yourself. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene. We thank them very much. And a record of the meeting will be posted on the local scene website as soon as they're able. Anyone interested, anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify me at this time. Anyone? Great. Well, I want to say that the Open Space Committee still has one open seat. Please contact the Conservation Department for details in that regard. First order of business is signing documents. Is there anything else to be signed?
Nope, we had the KWPR and WPA enforcement orders for 164 Pembroke Street. They hadn't got enough signatures at the last meeting. And we had invoices for Bonomi Welding, Beals and Thomas, Kingston Landscaping, and Environmental Partners for Apex.
All right. I'm going to open a discussion on the request by Troop 49 to camp out at Hathaway Preserve. Does the representative have any comments? If you do, come up to the podium, identify yourself, and we'll get you on the record. Thanks.
Yeah, my name's Dylan Baraka with the Boy Scouts. I'm going to be doing my Eagle project this weekend, and we have some new scouts in the troop, so we're going to roll a camp out into it. We're going to do the project and then just camp right there on the land when we're done. I just want to have permission before we go out there, and we're going to have a small fire. We got permission from the fire department, so should be good for that.
Super. Do you have any comments, Matt, on this?
No, all good on my end. I got the email from the fire chief that they're good with it, and I think it's going to be a great project. This is the roller coaster boardwalk at Hathaway Preserve,
Wow.
and he's going to be fixing that. So it's a
Nice.
good deal, and it's good. Always good to get the scouts out there. So.
Do any commissioners have any comments? No, except for me. I'd like to say that I think it's wonderful. Thank you very much for your service to the community. Is there any member of the public? No? If you'd like to sign in, that would be super, okay, just so we have you on the record. So do I hear a motion to approve the request?
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. I'm going to take a vote on that. Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Colleen is a yes. Buzz?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Good luck.
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dylan. Thanks, Chris.
Good luck.
I'll now open a public meeting to discuss the request for determination of applicability. We call it RDA. This is filed by Ring Road Solar for the proposed installment of a deer fence within the buffer zone to wetland resource areas, including riverfront area, on their properties at 126, 131, and 137 Ring Road. We will hear a briefing from you, Matt, if you have one.
Yeah, so this is an RDA, to have the commission make a determination on a proposal by the applicant to install, whatever you want to call fencing, security fencing, deer fencing, around the bog properties, claiming exemptions under WPA and, the Kingston Wetland Protection Regulations. So I think we can have a quick presentation by the applicant.
Is the applicant here?
Applicant's online.
Online? All right, well, let's hear that brief presentation from the applicant, please.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having us. I'm John Clavens from Clavens Law Group, here as counsel to Ring Road Solar, which you might hear referred to as Greenbacker, which is the larger solar developer that owns Ring Road Solar. Ring Road Solar is the owner not just of the dual-use solar facility installed at the site, but also the land and existing cranberry farms at the site. With me and presenting a little bit tonight is Jess Roden, who's a senior project manager at Greenbacker, as well as Ian Ward, who some of you may know already. Ian's a very experienced cranberry farmer with deep experience in cranberry farming, as well as deep experience with dual-use solar facilities. And he is the cranberry farmer for the farms at this site. So, as you know, Ring Road Solar back in February requested a minor amendment to add some additional fencing. The basis for that amendment was clarified in April to be an agricultural exemption. And then some discussion ensued. We ended up in August withdrawing the request for amendment and substituting the request for determination of applicability that is before you today. And the request is simply to determine that the proposed installation of this mesh fencing is exempt as a normal improvement of land and agricultural use under both the state and local wetlands regulations. As Matt said, both the state and local regulations provide an exemption for normal improvement of land and agricultural use. The state regulations expressly state that installation of fencing is deemed to be a normal improvement because it's just such an ordinary thing to fencing farmland. Even beyond that, Mass DEP and other state agencies have explained that what is a normal improvement can change over time. And you'll hear from Ian that that's what's the case here, even though it hasn't been that many people see fences around cranberry farms. You will be seeing that over time. DEP has clarified that a normal improvement for this purpose can be something that's new and innovative. It also doesn't have to be a best practice or the most effective choice, just simply something that would be an improvement that would aid the farming activity. Ian's going to talk in more detail about why the mesh fence is a necessary improvement to address the deer issue at the cranberry farm. I wanted to mention that you're all aware, I believe, that this mesh fence will end up addressing another problem as well. After the project was built, the Kingston and Plimpton wiring inspectors ended up determining that the electrical code required additional fencing to help keep unauthorized people away from the solar facility. And that's okay. An activity can be a normal improvement of land and agricultural use, even if it has other benefits as well. It's also helpful in this context, quite unusually, that in each and every one of the 4 orders of conditions, 2 original, 2 amended, that were issued for this dual use project, this commission has already made a written determination that the entire dual use facility constitutes normal improvement of land and agricultural use. We're not relying on that here, even if there were no solar facility, just a cranberry farm. This fence would be a normal improvement of land and agricultural use. But helpful historical information for this property with this project before this commission. So lastly, exempt agricultural activity is still subject to some minimal performance standards regarding prevention of erosion and siltation of wetlands. We're very aware of that. The fencing and the plan for its installation has been designed with those performance standards in mind. And the narrative we submitted walks through how the installation will comply with those performance standards. So I'm going to turn it over to Jess Roden from Greenbacker to review the specifications and layout for the planned fencing. And then he'll turn it over to Ian, who'll talk about the problem with deer coming on the cranberry farm and threatening the crop, and how the fence is designed to address that. So Jess, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, John. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. You'll see that Matt is sharing on his screen.
Would you just identify yourself for the record, Mr. Roden?
Yep.
Thanks.
My name is Jess Roden with Greenbacker, project manager for the Ring Road Solar project. And so, yeah, Matt is sharing our updated layout, showing where the mesh fence would be installed. This is largely consistent with what you guys have seen previously in terms of the layout and the amount of fencing. We have made a couple of updates to the layout to include some fencing where we had initially intended along some of the reservoirs. And that was based on, those changes are based on some discussions and suggestions made while we were on site with a few folks from this commission and other agencies in the town on Monday of this week. So we made some updates there, but you'll see on the screen, the site is now fully enclosed with the mesh fencing. And there's several locations of key points of access where we have gates, either single swing or double swing gates. You can see an example there. Again, this is the other side of the road that we're looking at. The fence will have a 6-inch wildlife gap. There'll be woven wire mesh, so the ag style fencing, based on suggestions from the initial conversation with this commission. We've removed the pressure treated posts and we're going with a galvanized steel post. It's similar type of material that was being used or was used for the racking, solar racking structure within the bogs. Some means and methods that we're using to minimize disturbance and erosion and runoff or siltation close to the wetlands. John pointed out we'll be using a silt sock as required in the performance standards. It's also called out in the narrative, and we'll be driving the posts rather than augering, so there won't be any additional soil disturbance for the installation of the posts. Most of the installation can take place off of the existing fog roads, which are fairly hard surface road, which will also help to mitigate any soil disturbance. So that's the sort of the gist of what we're going to be doing. I would point out that there's some existing fencing on site, and you'll see where the red markups of the new proposed fence ties into the existing fencing that's installed currently on site. So it's the new fencing is not entirely proposed for the perimeter, but it is tying into some existing fencing out there. So I can turn it over to Ian to discuss sort of the agricultural use of the fence.
All right, thank you. Ian?
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes.
Okay, great. So Ian Ward, Soline LLC, cranberry grower at the Ring Road Solar Project, along with SK Waineo Bogs Inc. We manage over 100 acres of cranberry bogs in Kingston and the surrounding towns. Deer have been an increasing issue on the cranberry bogs in our area, both from personal experience and in conversations with the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association, and citing information from the Mass Department of Wildlife, where we've personally and collectively they've been engaged with issuing nuisance permits because of those issues, and so hunting is a viable option, but the deer fencing is an expensive but effective alternative. And the reason why that we're looking to do this in the first place is the deer are out there, but as more development pressure, I guess, occurs, the deer eat the cranberries, they eat the vines, they poke holes with their hooves when they're out on the cranberry bogs. And from our perspective too, in addition to that, the fecal matter, their poop, is a food safety concern, especially with fresh fruit production, which is what we're focusing on in the Ring Road projects. So there is cost sharing that's either available through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Conservation Service, in parts also with the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources. There's conversations about additional direct grant funding for fencing, so it's going to be something that we see in the cranberry industry more and more, as John alluded to. And that's from happy to talk through more on the ag side, but those are the main highlights for why deer fencing would be important and necessary at the site.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have anything to say about that, Matt?
Sure. I think I have about an hour and a half of notes and references in here. If you'd like, I can kind of sum everything up pretty quickly, I think.
Would you?
So, like they mentioned, they made a few changes to the layout of this, including the swap to galvanized poles. They already had the wildlife passage underneath. They're driving the poles instead of digging. I pointed out that digging silt fence in itself would be destructive given how close a lot of these locations are to the wetlands. So they're switching that to silt sock. And then changing the layout. So one of the considerations for this is that it was supposedly for animal prevention and safety, but wasn't completely encasing the bogs. And now what they've shown on both of these plans, like along here, this whole area was open in the past iteration, and now that's been closed off, based on discussion at the site visit about access to that reservoir and how they could kind of move the fence to get both. I think the application is spot on in terms of its exemptions from WPA. If it's not agriculturally exempt under WPA, which it appears to be, then it would be a minor project. So I think either way, they would meet the exemption there. Under KWPR, I disagree pretty strongly with the concept that this commission has come to 4 determinations that the entire solar project is normal improvement of land and agricultural use. And not in a way meaningful to this particular project, but for the administrative record and going forward, I think it's important to have this stuff stated the way it is. Somebody could make a case, obviously, in court that the commission has made that determination, because they did. They made a determination in 2020 that the project met the performance standards of KWPR 5.19 and 5.23, so the agricultural and the variance standards. They then gave an explanation for how the applicant demonstrated compliance with the variance standards, but provided no explanation of how they determined that the project met the standards of land and forestry and agriculture. I suspect that's something that they did because the SMART program was new enough that they felt that the local regulations lacked the ability to approve that project. But I disagree with how they went about that, and I absolutely would not put a permit forward today that would say that. And saying that now saying 4 times is because you're issuing 2 permits in each situation, one under the local bylaw, one under the state permit. And then in 2021 was the amendment. Well, in an amended order of conditions, you're not going back and going through every single condition of a project, nor do I think we'd have the legal authority to do that. You know, your review of an amendment, you're reviewing what they're bringing forward for the amendment, and you may add conditions, or you may even subtract conditions as is necessary for that particular purpose. But the idea that we would go back and change kind of the fundamental, you know, first special condition, the reason why they felt they could issue that permit in the first place, I disagree that we had the authority to do that, and therefore that was actually the commission coming to a determination. So I think if the commission felt in 2020 the project was actually exempt from KWPR under 5.19, then there would be no reason for them to issue orders of conditions at all. The project would have been exempt. And to say that an entire solar array like this is normal improvement of agricultural use, I think is not correct. And SMART program regulations, I think, would have to have a lot more language in there for that to be true on a municipal basis. But having said that, I do think that what they've shown would meet KWPR's agricultural exemptions. And I've, you know, done a little research on my own. You know, obviously everybody knows the deer population is up there. I am seeing deer out on bogs as I'm driving around. I did check with Cranberry Station employees, not specifically about this project, but just as a general concept, have they been seeing deer on bogs, and are deer problematic? And what they said to me was essentially the same thing that the applicant, or that Ian had said in his description of it. Specifically that they can be problematic for people trying to do dry harvesting, which, you know, if you're looking to get more money per barrel, which I think a lot of people are trying to do nowadays, then that can be seriously problematic. We did get comments from Brian Wick of the Cranberry Growers Association, but it was a couple hours ago, and I haven't had time to pass those on to the commission, but they essentially mirror, you know, the rest of the talking points about that deer are concerning. So I do think there's a legitimate deer concern. You know, the idea that it serves 2 purposes, I agree that there's nothing in the regulations that states that they can't also be a safety, you know, a benefit in terms of public safety or site safety or something along those lines. So I don't think that precludes it from having agricultural exemptions. And I think that, you know, as Ian said, this being covered by the solar project stops the grower from having to then go for grant funding and compete with other growers. And that was kind of the idea behind the SMART program in the first place, was that it helps the grower survive by matching it to, you know, an industry that is, you know, I don't want to say flush with cash or making a lot of revenue off of these sites that can help the grower. So that was kind of the concept behind it. So the one thing I thought was also worth pointing out was that riverfront area was not mentioned on this at all. But Wetlands Protection Act also provides the same exemption under just a different statute, so it's not really problematic in terms of an agricultural exemption on this. It's just that, for the record, this also is in the riverfront area. It is a perennial stream that runs through there, so that should be brought up for the record. I thought it was worth pointing out In my opinion, the commission should be looking at this filing on its content. This is an RDA filing, asking the commission to make a determination on whether these actions meet the exemptions that they stated, rather than weighing performance-related issues from the site development. You know, we've talked before when we were here talking about the amendment and at the site visit about performance-related issues during the development of this site. And I think that, you know, any performance-related issues can be dealt with through either enforcement or the COC process, but I think in this case, the commission has to look at the facts and come to a determination based on that. And I would recommend issuing a -5 DOA under WPA and KWPR. -5 states that the area is jurisdictional under WPA and KWPR, but the proposed work meets the requirements of the stated exemptions. Those exemptions would be 310 CMR 10.02 2B 2B and 10.04 C1 under the WPA, and under KWPR would be under 5.19. That's all I have, unless the commission has questions.
You will move to the commission. Are there any comments or concerns from the commission on this?
No, I think after the sidewalk yesterday, Matt summed it up well.
I have a couple things I'd like to just put on the record, right, if I may. Claire?
Please.
All right, so what's been said up to this point, I agree with a lot of it. I disagree with a lot of it too. So I won't say that if we put this to a vote and I vote affirmative, that it means that I subscribe to everything that's put in front of us. I think there's some things here that we should keep in mind as we move forward, right? So can I understand a benefit to a cranberry grower to allow them to put solar? Yes. Is it a commercial array at the same time? Absolutely. In this project specifically, there were mistakes made, right? It sounds like still, you know, the fire department and the electrical inspectors are going to have them dig up some of this stuff and show that it was done right because there was no inspections, right? So the lack of oversight on this one is troubling for me. If this was installed at the right height and all the NEC concerns were addressed in the beginning, I don't think this comes back to ask for 3,000 feet of fence in a resource area. So from that perspective, if there's a need for a fence and it's beneficial, then it has a cost return to the grower that it's a worthwhile investment. There's programs out there that they could get a fence paid for outside of their operating budget, but in this case, the solar developer's picking up the bill, and it has a dual use, and they've admitted the dual use, and it came in as a single use, which was to take care of a safety concern. Now, we had a site visit yesterday. I heard the inspectors state definitively, and the fire chief also, or either the fire chief or the deputy chief, I forget who made the comment, specifically call out, you know, the clearances. And what they basically made me aware of, which I didn't know existed until yesterday, was that there's extra height concerns when you're bringing water into the equation, meaning that if the designers designed it with a 10-foot height and that would have been sufficient, we lost 10 foot as soon as they dropped down into drip legs, meaning that they were down at 8 foot at some point, and if the water comes up 2 feet to float the bogs and then ice is over, everything's very accessible. So in this case, it's a clear cut, you gotta put a fence up to keep people away from it, because the smart people in the room have a concern about safety. So from that perspective, I can see the merits of it. I don't necessarily know that this is something that's asked for outside of the fact that this commercial solar development went on a bog. So from that perspective, I'm not gonna fight that this is something that we can approve. I think it does come in sideways, but I do wanna point out that it is something that's coming in sideways, and I don't necessarily agree with that from the thing, but I think they've done everything that we've asked to outside of that, and I'm just gonna go on the record for it, but I'm not gonna get in the way of it, so.
Before I ask for more commissioner discussion, I'd just like to make sure that we have heard from any members of the public who might have a comment to make on this. See any hands raised online? There's no one in the room. Okay, any other commissioners? Do we have a hand up?
I don't see any hands up, no.
No? All right.
Are you looking for a motion?
Anything else? I am actually, but anything else?
All right, so
So I'm looking for a motion to issue a -5 DOA approving the project?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
As further clarified by the agent, his recommendation.
All right. Let the record reflect. Dot
Yes.
and Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Lynn is yes. Buzz?
No.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to reopen a public hearing, a public meeting to discuss the request for determination of applicability for the 28 Raybuth Road. This is submitted by Stenbeck and Taylor on behalf of property owner Frank Dirico. The applicants requested a continuance to October 8th. Anything from you, men, in that regard?
There were some materials that they were asked to provide at the last meeting, and they hadn't provided them. They emailed a few days ago and asked for a continuance to give more time to work on that.
Do I have any comments from the public in regard to this? Do we see anything on that? No. Do I hear a motion to continue to October 8th, still requiring the incomplete restoration be addressed?
So moved.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
All right.
Colleen, we're going to move to hearings.
Well,
No,
let me just
let's
take
finish the vote.
I'm just going to take a vote on this, and then we can move on.
Oh, sorry, I thought you already did that.
Need to finish that continuance.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was my fault, Buzz. I thought she was done.
All right, so a vote to continue. Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Clean as yes. Buzz?
Yes.
And Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian, this is
Yes.
continued. Thanks, okay. So we're moving on to public hearings. We're going to move on to Section A, public hearings. This is Section A, Baker Ave. This can be found on map 58. This is lot 92-6. A notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home with a driveway, garage, deck, roof water infiltration system, drinking water well, utilities, grading, and landscaping, all within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland, and the 200-foot riverfront area to an intermittent stream. So I reopen a hearing for the notice of intent for this Baker Ave project. Can we have a briefing from you, Matt, on this?
Yeah, I'll just say I don't know that we have anybody from the development team on, but we may want to see if there's public comment, just because I don't know what, if anybody, it didn't get posted on the agenda as a continuance, but if you remember the last time we discussed this, it was going out to peer review. Mm-hmm. We were waiting on information. We needed to get information on the stream categorization and information on the future stormwater drainage calculations. And we just got that information probably a week ago. We had the stream stuff a while ago, but we just got the stormwater stuff, I want to say about a week, maybe a week and a half ago. So I just put out the requests for bids for peer review. I informed the applicant that this would need to be obviously continued, and I recommended we push it out to October 22nd. And I requested that we get bids back from consultants by October 15th. So if we continue this to the 22nd, by the 22nd, we should have bids, and I should have had the time to go through the bids and analyze them to make a presentation to the commission.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public who wants to comment on this continuance? Anyone in the commission? All right. So do I hear a motion to continue this matter to, is it October 22nd?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have Brian and Marilyn. Okay, Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Clena's a yes. Buzz?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Brian, we're going to continue this matter to October 22nd. Thank you very much. All right, what else have we got on here?
Should be just enforcement.
Let's go to enforcement. This is 44 Raboth Road. Matt, what can you say about that?
Nothing. I have nothing.
Okay.
Last time we spoke on this, they had just gotten the plan from the structural engineer. I had questions on some of the information on that plan and let them know we needed information on that, and I think it was discussed at the last meeting as well, what the commission is looking for information. And Paul Armstrong, the building commissioner, has also reached out in terms of what the building department needs in order to complete their filing for a building permit. I'm not sure if they're in the Zoom crowd to speak to this or not.
All right, is there anyone in the Zoom crowd who wants to speak on this matter? Not hearing anything in that regard. Anyone on the commission wants to speak on this? All right, we'll just move on. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this has dragged on for probably a year at this point. We knew it would be kind of a tricky one because there was a lot to look at. So we've dealt with some of the smaller stuff, and now I think it's up to the bigger stuff at this point, like the wall and the big concrete area at the top of the wall that the wall is supporting. I don't know if it makes sense at this point to push for a timeline for specific things. I don't have great advice on this one. I'm not sure.
Do we want to establish a timeline on this?
Well, is the holdup with our department, our building department? I mean, it sounds like they got their engineering stuff.
There has been some delay, I think, from a transition in town staff
Right.
in that department. I mean,
I'm just wondering what timeline we have to put on the owners if they've submitted the information we asked for.
I don't know that they've submitted all the information.
Okay.
Because
Well, that's
basically,
what
we got
I'm
a
asking
plan
you.
from a structural engineer, but
Right.
it doesn't have any real information on it. You
Okay.
can't really tell if what's on that plan is the existing condition in the field, which it was supposed to be, or if it's what it should be built like based on the
Matt, you saying
specs of
it's
the
not
lot.
an as-built? It's
That's
just
what I
a
couldn't
plan
tell
that-
from a quick review, and that's sort of what I reached out about, was we need a letter from the engineer stating what was done and stamped and signed. And also, there's nothing
To be,
showing it on the landscape. He didn't
So that's
work
what
with a
we need.
surveyor or anything like that, and that's what the building department said that they need as well, is, you know, they need a plan to show where that is on the landscape, and they need information, and they need somebody basically to state that that wall was built to the
According
specs
to specs.
that the block manufacturer provides.
you need
And they don't
an
have
engineering review with an
that stuff
as-built
yet.
and a stamp,
Yeah.
saying that it meets the intent of the design and that it, you know, is structurally sound so that they can make a determination, and we're basically sitting here waiting for that to happen, I think.
Right, and that's essentially what's
Conversations.
happening is the commission last year said, with the wall, why don't you see if it can even get a building permit first? And if it can, then come to us about a filing to try to permit it in retro. We already know it doesn't meet the standards of the local bylaw, but it's up to them to come forward with something compelling enough to provide mitigation or something else to try to get it passed. Otherwise, they would need to have it rebuilt. There might be a way to rebuild it, you know, in tiers or something that would meet the standards rather than completely remove it. I don't know, but that's up to them to come forward with a filing on that, but, yeah.
I mean, you said it, I think somewhere in there is what I heard is we've been dealing with this for a year, and at some point we need to put a timeline on it.
Exactly.
And I'm all for that, and I'm open to whatever anybody else thinks, but I'd be for moving forward with expectations and timelines to make sure that this doesn't go on for another year.
So if you
Right.
could reiterate the things that you mentioned previously as the demand and the timeline, I think that would be the simplest way to go.
In writing to the applicant or to Rayboth Road?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
You talking an enforcement order?
Well,
Yeah, right.
at this point, it could be, or you could continue your correspondence.
If I could just to simplify, if there's an engineer involved, I don't know if it's, one from the block company that just, does things online and stamps and says, all right, build it by that, that's your thing. If that's the type of engineer they engage, might not be local, might not be able to get out to do an as-built. They'd have to get some digging done to show that it went down below whatever line they would require in that design, right? So if that's the case, it might be harder than they anticipated to get that type of a letter of response stamped
Right.
by that engineer. So I think that we need to give them a little bit of time, because they should, if we were to say 30 days, right, to get that letter and submit it so that we see forward progress, and at that time, at that date,
Yeah.
we would start assessing fines because there's been no movement. I think that would give them enough time to move, but just understand there's a lot of moving parts that it sounds like they still need to get complete in order to get that letter. It's not.
30?
Just to update you a little bit on what you were saying, because it's refreshing a little bit. Jenna had said that they were not able to get in touch with anybody at the block company. Nobody was getting back to them. So they did get an engineer, just third party, but it was somebody who didn't do the surveying portion of it, because it says on the plan, it needs to be field located.
Yeah.
So she told me she had reached out to a land surveyor to try to see if they could get somebody to come down. And I said, why don't you hold off on that until you know specifically what the building department needs? Because at that point, there had been no communication directly from the building department recently, since the plan was created. So since then, the building department did say, like, that is what they want. They want to see it field located, and they want a statement saying that it is built to the specs of the block manufacturer. So now they have that going forward, but I would agree that anything right now is taking a lot of time. You're reaching out to a land surveyor, it's taking people, people are being told by land surveying firms or engineering firms, like, that it's gonna be months before they get to them, or just find somebody else. So,
You could always grant an extension if they come with
Yeah.
evidence that they've been doing more than what we've seen, because from what I see, aside for taking care of some of this extra stuff that popped up in the past year, this is still sitting out there, and where I'm hearing, we're still at square one. I mean, we haven't made it to step 2, and I think that we really should have, so I would be fine, putting a date on it and calling it a date, and, if you guys have a date in mind, I'm open to all of them. But I think 30 days would be the minimum that we should, I think that's enough time to pull some things together and come back and demonstrate, and if not, then we know what we have to do to compel.
if it was 30 days, you're saying the letter from the engineer stating that what's shown is the as-built. Now, I don't know if they would write a letter stating that, but essentially, no matter what, the building department, and I think the commission wants to see a letter from
Yeah,
an
ask for what we
engineer
need.
stating that it was built to specs, right?
Specifically, I'd wanna see substantial positive movement on both aspects of what the building inspector is looking for, meaning that they've had enough time to engage, to get it put on a plan. It would take a couple hours in the field, plus some CAD work, and then the as-built, somebody's gonna have to go out and take a look at it and say one way or another, and that's a marching orders. So I think once they can document sufficiently for the building inspector, then this clears up pretty simply, I think, after that, because we've dealt with problems like this before, and we know how to make it as right as we can coming in after the fact, so. So I would say 30 days, for both, all right?
Anybody want to comment on the 30-day time framework?
30 days is fine with me.
Fine.
As I said, just ask
it
for what we
realistic?
need, make it very clear, and call it 30 days. And then if it doesn't happen, we move on it
We'll look at it
further.
again.
So, I'm sorry, the second in October, is that the 24th,
22nd.
22nd? So it's a little less than 30 days.
You had somebody up there? You got a
raised.
hand.
Do you want to do first meeting in November?
I would think the first meeting in November.
First of November, all right.
You
We
have
have some
raised.
public.
Did we have a raised hand? We have Sean Strangolini, I'm sorry. Sean,
He's muted.
can you unmute yourself?
How's that?
There you go, that's good, Sean, thank you.
Thank you. Am I on?
Oh,
You
yes.
Oh, okay, pardon me. I just wanted to add that it seems
Just
like
gotta state your name and
my
address.
understanding of the discussion.
Sean, I want to stop you right there for 1 second. Will you just
Sure.
state your name, your whole name clearly for the record?
Sure, thank you. My name is Sean Stangolini.
Thank
And
you.
address too.
And your address?
Sure, 46 Rabbit Road, Kingston.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would just like to add that the last time that this meeting was held, the discussion was that you gave the people at 44 Rabbit Road up until today to produce the document from the engineer.
I could, so Sean, I don't know if you heard what Matt said. He did receive a document, so
Oh, I
factually,
didn't hear that.
a document came in. It's just, it doesn't appear to be exactly what was asked for, and so there was some, I believe it went back to them with some questions, and it hasn't come back. So what we're discussing is the next step, because I think they
Sure.
checked
Now,
that one.
Thank you. Just to clarify, it was my understanding that a document was produced before the last meeting. And then at the last meeting, they asked for the clarification, so at this meeting, you could make a decision and move forward.
Is there a question?
Well, yes, well, I guess we could start with, do you recall the last meeting, what was asked of the folks at 44 Rabbit Road as it pertains to what document they were supposed to produce for today?
I mean, this,
I'm trying to pull up my
Okay.
notes from
Okay.
the last
Okay, Sean, hold on 1
meeting.
second.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to get into it from this or not. That
I
does
recall
not ring a
us
bell for
asking,
me.
I don't recall
Megan?
a hard deadline. I just say we've continued it 2 weeks. I don't remember us, I have no notes of saying 2 weeks or else, or 2 weeks this day, or 2 weeks fines will accrue. One of 7, recall saying we'll continue this matter for 2 weeks while we ask for that information to come in.
Brian, can you add to that?
That's correct. That's my recollection as well. They did produce a document last week, or last time we met with them. We believe the document was not accurate and provided the information we need. We asked them to go back and clarify it. We continued it, but we did not include a specific deadline for it. So
Yeah,
so
it's-
logically, we're on the next step, which is,
I think the
Put a
next step is
deadline
to
into
become a
it
little
and-
bit more forceful.
yeah.
Yeah, all I have on my notes for that in terms of actionable tasks was continuance to tonight.
But I agree with Jim that I think it's time to take a more forceful step by providing a hard deadline.
So, if I may,
Please.
now that Sean is here and it has come up a little bit in past meetings, 46 Rabbit Road was built through a wetlands permit, and at one point I had gone to do a site visit with Sean to go over remaining tasks of what needs to be done, and pointed out a stormwater issue where the stormwater's coming off of the driveway, or whatever you want to call it, the end of Rabbit Road, and coming down into the wetlands on his property. And I said, well, you got to take care of that. And he's been working with ECR on, trying to kind of wrap everything up, and we're supposed to have a site visit, and we keep getting delayed. ECR is very busy. But one of the things Sean brought up was, well, all the runoff is coming from their property and from the work that they've been doing there without a permit. And the owner of that property came in and told the commission that the reason why he built that wall and did that paved parking area was to keep water from going down into the pond. And instead, it's now going onto my property and going into the wetlands and becoming my problem. So just pointing out that we now have an enforcement issue that spans multiple properties, 3 properties, in fact, because the area that's closest to Sean's property, where some of that digging was done, is owned by the owners of 28 Rabbit Road. So I have made them aware of the issue as well, just because there's an ongoing enforcement issue now that involves their property as well. So.
Well, Matt, I think that's really important to discuss, especially when we revisit that. I mean, if they say it's permittable in its form and they decide to permit it, if it's creating an issue that we can't overlook, then it becomes well, that's not the only obstacle. It's just, we shouldn't be discussing this until we know that somebody in town, is going to permit that and let them keep it there structured, right? Because it just made it simple for us to say, if it can't live there anyways, we're not going to let it, we're not going to debate it. So, but if it is causing problems, then we need to discuss those at that meeting. Absolutely, 100%.
Ed, I just thought it's worth bringing up because it's pretty messy. Obviously, this is all hearsay until somebody actually looks at the engineering behind it. And for all we know, the water was running that way all along, or maybe something was changed during the development of 46 Rabbit. I can't really speak to any of that, but we do know that according to the owner of 44 Rabbit Road, things were done there in order to change the way that water flows. And so it's entirely possible that that's the case, so.
We want to set a timeline on this?
Personally, I would be fine with the next second meeting in October. I'm sorry, first meeting in November.
November 12th.
November 12th, if acceptable to all.
Would you be looking for me to issue an enforcement order saying that we need these things by November 12th or else fines are issued daily? Or are you looking for get this stuff by November 12th or we're issuing an enforcement order?
My intent is to compel action where there hasn't been action, so I would feel more comfortable with that being built into this enforcement action, meaning that show us what we're asking for, bring us to the next step by this date certain, and if you don't, the fines will start racking up on a daily of let's call it $250.
It's 300.
300.
We could go up to 300.
It's 300.
300 is just a flat.
It's 300. Yeah, now it's just
Did that
300.
change?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
something with town council when we redid the.
It's $300.
Yeah, $300.
All right, so I would make that motion to issue that enforcement action to 44 Rabbit Road to compel the engineer's as-built certification, stating that it's structurally sound and built to the specs, and that it has been reviewed as an as-built. And second was that it be that the survey be done and located on a survey showing grades and location on the plot plan. So a real survey, because we're going to be needing it. It sounds like the deeper we get into it, we're going to need more something like a NOI level of documentation on that. So that would be my motion. And
You
sorry,
do have
for
a
the-
hand raised. You do have a hand raised, FYI.
And Sean, can we hear from you? Sean, are you unmuted?
I think that's a previous.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
That was your
Disregarded
previous?
that.
Okay, no problem,
Okay, just
Thank you for your time. Sorry.
didn't want to miss them.
no problem.
Thank you.
And so we have a motion, can we have a second on that motion?
Second.
All right, I'm gonna vote on that. Dot?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Kalina, yes. Buzz?
Did that come out okay, so?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thanks a lot. We have no meeting minutes, no updates, no public hearings.
You get nothing.
What? What?
I said you get nothing. No minutes, no updates,
Nothing yet.
It was an
nothing.
easy meeting.
We'll see
I
them
think we're
all.
there.
They'll all rain down on us eventually.
We
all
do,
those
we
meeting
are
minutes.
contracting a KTU employee from the library to do our minutes.
Oh,
Perfect.
So-
speaking of minutes, I was contacted by said employee at the library, and she said it is very helpful when we make comments on who made the motion and who seconded the motion for our meeting minutes.
Okay, I'll
Sorry, I should have
I
probably
don't
remembered that
see that.
about an hour ago, but
think about that.
going forward.
All these people bossing me
We
around.
usually do, but she said it's very helpful for meeting minutes.
All right, so the next meeting will be held on October 8th, 2025. It will be starting at 6:30 PM. Jim, before we go.
There's a lot of people here, and then we have somebody in person who hasn't been heard too, so I don't know if
Did-
there's something more.
Is there something from a member of the public present?
Sorry.
That's no problem. The time is now 7:28. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Megan has made that a motion, seconded by Jim. Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Kalina? Yes. Buzz?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Motion passes. I thank you all very much. You're wonderful.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
And you as well.
Good night, Dot and Buzz.
Night all.
Night.
That's